Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, I'm with Carl Casada of InRange TV, and we're going to be discussing using a match to train for combat. Now, recently I did an online stream with Brent0331, and we brought this topic up. It's a nice hour-and-a-half long. I'll put a link in the end of this video. And it was a very contentious issue. And I thought Carl, with his experience with inventing 2G ACM and brutality matches, would have some unique insight to this.
Well, let me add, I've never been in combat, right? So they got to bring that to the table. But I was for a long time a training junkie and went to all the as best trainers that you could find and have the certificate folder of really interestingly and hard gamed at least certificates. So let me bring that to the table. And so when 2G ACM and brutality matches became after that, my intent was to always take the things that we practiced in those training environments and put them practically as much as we could in a competition environment on the clock so that it was accessible and we could keep our skills fresh and new. On top of that, brutality matches in 2G ACM over the decade plus now has had a wide variety of shooters here. We've got people that are just absolutely neophytes trying to do new things, and we have frankly hard-boiled veterans that have been in combat and come out here and played and trained with us as well. So we have like a whole spectrum of people, and I think that hopefully brings insight to this. So in this regard, I have a hard time understanding we're being quick and accurate under any form of duress, whether it's physical or time stress or even just being watched. Dudes watching dudes, as sometimes we've heard a phrase, right? That's all a real thing, and of course it's not the same thing as being bullets coming at you. But if you can be fast and accurate and capable with your equipment, while we realize here in these environments this is not a combat environment, and things like cover, concealment, these things don't apply, all those other elements of being quick and efficient and very capable with your weapon systems, well, those really do apply. What about wearing your load-bearing vest, your armor? How does that sit on you? How does that ride on you? How do you move with that? How do you get over or under a barricade? Do you get stuck? Does your gear stick out over here when you're going under something because you need to get under a truck or fire from an unusual position? These are things you have to test, hopefully not under fire, to know what you would need to do if it were under fire. And so in my opinion, while never being in combat, but being a training junkie and seeing this competition environment, I cannot see how honing the edge of your skills with your weapon system as a knife is in any way deficient, as long as you remember this is a match and don't bring that with you into combat directly.
All right, so be careful for the training scars.
Yes.
Now, on the other hand, if somebody comes here to get the big win, like they're driving hard to get the win, the guy who comes here in his full Fallschirmjäger kit and doing his World War II art, is he detracting from that guy trying to get the big win?
I can't understand why anyone would feel that they are. So if you're here in your short shorts and your super high-speed shoes and your best competition rig and you're here to win the match and you're shooting these stages in 60 seconds, and then there's another person out there, like you said, LARPing, and they're timing out on 4 of the 8 stages, so what? That's their experience, not yours. Your experience is what you're doing. So that's what par times are for, is that people don't consume the whole day. There's a reason the stage ends. Like today we're running 240-second par. If you don't finish the stage, it ends. And that means there's room for the next person to shoot it. And so in a properly run match environment, everyone gets a chance to shoot all 6 or 8 stages. And what the person before you does, whether they do it in 60 seconds or 240 seconds, as far as I'm concerned, isn't really any of your problem or business. You're there for you, they're there for them. Get out of it what you want to get out of it, make the most of it from the skill you want to gain, whether it's to win a match, be more proficient with your weapon system, or learn how a G43 works. That's your 240 seconds on the clock, not someone else's.
Oh, great insight. So, if somebody wants to participate in brutality, what should they do?
Easy to do. Not to self-promote, but to answer that properly, we have early discount access for brutality matches on my Patreon. So if you join up as Two Gun Army, you get early access with discounts, and other Patreons get early access as well. If you're not there and don't want to be there or can't be there, you can find all my brutality matches at brutalitymatches.org when they go to public access.
Excellent. Well, if you think brutality is for you, and I would suggest giving it a try, now you know where to find out.
Thanks, Les.
Thanks, Carl. So I'm here with Russell Fagan, a Sinistral Rifleman, and KE Arms. He's won too many matches to ever possibly list out here without the video lasting for hours, and he's also the match director here at Brutality. So if a competitor comes here to extract training value out of this match, what do you think about that, Russ?
I mean, people come out here for a variety of reasons, right? And I think the appropriate way, if you're looking for training value of this, is like an overall stress assessment of how you and your gear perform as a total system. So you can learn things by doing like an after-action analysis of how you performed here. I think it's hard to learn things on the clock while you're doing it, but you can certainly stress test yourself and your equipment as a total system, how you're performing under all these unique and challenging circumstances. That it's not like a drill that you picked. It's something that you're being forced to do that's often awkward and uncomfortable.
So how would you rate brutality as a starter? Like somebody comes here, they've never been in a match. Is this the place to start, or would you suggest something a little bit better, different?
It really depends on their background. So like if they've taken a bunch of training classes, they have military experience, I think it's probably a reasonable place to start. If you have zero practical firearms experience as far as moving and shooting under stress, you can start here. We can keep you safe. But I generally encourage people to start at like a local steel pistol match, so they get the rudimentary elements of moving safely with a gun down first, versus coming out to a major event, spending a lot of money, and maybe not fully understanding the rules and procedures, and then getting thrown into the deep end of the pool.
Okay. Now, if someone comes here dressed as like an American World War II paratrooper with his M1 Garand and his 1911, do you think that detracts from the match at all in any way?
No, I mean, people come out here for a variety of reasons. Like some are trying to, go all out, put their best in and win with modern equipment. And other people come out here using historical equipment to gain some appreciation of how much better things are today from back then, understand how hard it was to perform with that equipment from back then. I mean, myself, sometimes I like to shoot iron sights even with an AR versus modern optics to appreciate how much easier and better it is to perform today with modern equipment versus equipment that really isn't that old. So if people want to come out here and do that, more power to them. But conversely, the older your equipment, the higher your skills need to be to actually do well with it.
Interesting. Now, that guy who comes out here being the American paratrooper from World War II, is he taking anything away from the competitor that's coming here to the brutality to win the match and go home with the bragging rights?
No, I mean, kind of like one way to look at being on these stages here is you're paying an entry fee to rent the racetrack, and we're providing the racetrack. What you do with that time on the racetrack is up to you. If you want to go around it in a bumper car or a moped, and then someone else is out here in their Daytona 500 car racing, that's their prerogative. We're just making the environment accessible and safe for people to do it in, and it's really up to them what they do with that time.
Excellent. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate the insight.
All right, no problem.
Hi, I'm here with Michael Sheelan. He is the top rifle shooter right now in Sweden. Mike, people coming to a competition as a preparation to get combat type skills, what do you think of that as a top shooter? Does that take away from your competition experience?
No, not at all. This is, I treat everything I do like a learning experience, and I'm growing as a competition shooter for sure doing this as well. It's great. Putting me up to new challenges, learning new skills. I just have good things to say about it. It's fantastic. Okay. This is definitely going to be a sticker in my calendar for next year as well.
Outstanding. So you think people coming to not just finish brutality here, but if they showed up at your local home competitions there in Sweden and they're like put their combat gear on and they wanted to shoot the competition that way, you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, that would be awesome. We really like the concept of the Finnish SRA and stuff as well. And it's like I wish we had something similar for civilians in Sweden as well. That would be outstanding. For as a civilian and competition shooters, that would be fantastic.
Excellent. So you definitely see the application here, and people coming just for training. Even if a guy says, "Hey, look, I'm coming for training, and I know it's going to tank my score," you don't feel that affects the competition?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. For me being a competition shooter, normal-wise, it's like I didn't come here to win this thing. It's like it's new for me. I'm gonna do my best, and it's just great as a learning experience. And I think everyone who shoots competition should try it out, especially before badmouthing it.
Awesome, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, I'm introducing here Ziga from Polinar Tactical. We're discussing how competition prepares one for combat training.
Yeah, so I think the biggest misconception is that if you do competition, you get killed in the streets. Essentially, that competition will cause you to get training scars, or your training will not be compatible with any tactical stuff or the military. The reality is, and I have a lot of experience with this because I also do my own courses. I was in the military and just shooting all around the world and competing. People that do not compete are usually the people that are the worst shooters. And even guys that are in the military or police or even special forces will tell you that competition is just training. Why competition? Because you have a set of available rules and you have to work in that set of available rules, but you also still have to beat every other guy there. Well, you don't have to, but you are competing against them, and this is how you push yourself. I think we already had a bit of this discussion before. If you look at some like really high-end competition, not just like something at your local range, but for example IPSC, it's very sport-oriented and it's very high speed, and yes, there are a lot of specific gear that people use for that kind of competition. But if you look at the shooters and how they have to think about like all of the small things, like for example, we talked about the wide 180 and the safe angles and the safety there, it's top notch. So you have to think about that. You have to think not to get DQ'd. You have to think where the targets are, how many of the targets are there, you know, the hidden targets, how much shots per target and all of the other stuff. And you have to race it, you have to hit the targets, and you also have to be kind of the fastest one on that course to be in the top score. And there's a lot to think about. And if you are able to do that, good. I am pretty much certain that you'll be able to do any of the tactical drills, because it's usually less thinking. Kind of with tactical stuff, yes, shooting is important, maybe retaining the mags is important, but if you're able to do high-speed stuff, I think you can also manage the other part. So yeah, I'm definitely in the camp that competition will only improve you. And in my experience, people that do not compete are usually the worst shooters.
Interesting. Do you find any down aspects to competition that would be bad for training or create training scars?
I would maybe not say that training scars. I would maybe say that you have some shooters, some people that go to the competitions and they want to score higher, and they try to do that with buying better gear, gamer gear, trying to move in certain divisions, for example like limited or some other division where you have less shooters, and they just care about scoring highest. I think that's not productive. I in generally think this, that if you're trying to compensate for your lack of skill with buying better gear, that does not help you at all. But otherwise, I don't think competitions could cause training scars. Okay. I would actually argue the other side. So if you're doing some kind of very strange tactical trainings, especially for example the Israeli stuff, that will cause much more training scars that are harder to then kind of train out of you than competition.
Okay, so what we're saying here, the rules of a stage are the equivalent of rules of engagement when you go into the field, and that's
a great way of thinking about it.
Mission specific gear that you use to complete a stage, be it high copper clop mags or a bipod, is no different than getting missing essential gear issued to you when your unit moves out.
Yeah.
So it is a very direct correlation.
Definitely, and look, for example, I do different kind of competitions. Here on Brutality, we have to retain all of our gear. Magazines, gear, everything, even if it's empty. I then go to IPSC, I do not get a training scar and try to retain all of the magazines. At IPSC, I just throw the magazines wherever I want, you know. But it's, if you are at a certain level, if you are not completely, I don't know, like stupid guy with a low capacity of thinking, I think you can make that kind of transition without a problem. But if you can't, then you have bigger problems, not just, oh, competition.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Ziga. Appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Hey, today I'm here with Jari Laine, the CEO of Varusteleka. Jari has also served in a Jaeger border guard unit in the recon element, and he's also the creator of Finnish Brutality. Jari, glad to have you aboard today.
Good to be here.
My question for you is, a lot of people try to use competition as also training for a combat or armed prepared citizen. As a creator of Finnish Brutality, do you think somebody who shows up to match for no other purpose than they just want to train, is that a detriment to the match?
No, I personally think that competition is a great training tool to increase your capabilities. And even though it never replicates the real life scenarios, uh, but it imposes some level of stress and uncontrolled situations, that it's good training. Somebody sets up the stages and the shooting problem or physical problem for you, and then you need to overcome. So I think it doesn't make the match worse if the people come there to train. I think it makes it better.
Outstanding. And what value do you see in the match for somebody who's coming for training and stuff? Like if a guy shows up and just like, look, I'm going to do this match because I just want to be a better all-round prepared person, or be a better reservist or better soldier. Where do you think the match helps in that respect?
Of course, there are different type of matches, but I would break down it in kind of based on what skill you wanna develop. Like if you wanna be really fast and accurate shooter, and you go IPSC or SRA match, that's a good test pen to improve your shooting skills and kind of measure how good you are actually in the shooting. Then if it's like a physical attribute, then you should go to the CrossFit games or whatever. And then there is a combination or overlap where brutality matches or tactical games or something that, okay, how do you combine these two, and how do you perform under stress and fatigue. So in that sense, like going to the match and developing a certain skill is you should start what skill you want to improve or measure, and the competitions are great to measure that skill because it gives you a benchmark towards the other shooters, and of course most importantly towards yourself. But I think you need to be true that you separate the skills what you're measuring.
So you find it perfectly okay if somebody shows up in a match and they're there, I'm just here to test this rig out to see if it's viable and a good option for me.
Yeah, I think that's that is precisely what I would like to see more. Of course, the top tier shooters who are competitive, they have their own stuff, and for part of the people it's a profession. All good with that, but if like average Joe like me wants to go to the match, like we were in Hatila, there was a CQP situations. Like I went full LARPing there, that okay, how I would navigate through the house, like actually if I wouldn't know that where the targets are. So I lost so much time there, but I got the good fun out of it. I could test that how fast I actually shot with the proper SOPs, and when it was filmed I could see that okay, excess movement, I didn't check that corner, I did stupid thing there. So that was the training value for me. And if somebody wants to do that in a match, I think it's perfectly okay, and the matches should kind of even encourage to do that.
Excellent. Yeah, I noticed, especially at Hatila, the guys who won moved like lightning.
Yeah.
And doing it tactically. Matter of fact, I remember one stage as the ROs specifically said, "Don't do it tactically because you won't get a good time." And it was like it was totally worth it to me to get training value out of it.
And it's up to the person what's their motivation to go to the matches. For me personally, it's to have fun and kind of test my skills. Of course, I try to shoot as well as possible, but I might do it in with the excess gear, like what would be my loadout. In military, I might do it like the CQP situation, like okay, we're going in a stealth mode, like really slicing the pie, whatever comes to your mind. And of course that means that you are not on the kind of the top score, but at least you have fun, you get the training value, somebody has made all the hard work of setting the scenario, and you can enjoy it on your own way.
Excellent. Now let's talk to breacher class that you just had here at Finnish Brutality. You know, I felt that really catered for people who came to a match for training value. You did it literally, you're wearing your breacher gear that you're required for duty. I did it in a full-blown patrol rig, and for the most part, I didn't find my gear hampered me that much. There were certain stages that most definitely did, but overall, it was a good sturdy rig, and I noticed your gear didn't hold you back at all.
Not really. I think that all the stages we had in the Finnish brutality combined with the preacher challenges was a good package because the stages were quite physical, and you really got the good training and testing value out of those for your gear. For example, I had our new assaulter panel in my plate carrier, and I didn't secure the breaching tools properly in the pouch. So first shot, first stage, first shot, when I went prone, I got the freaking bolt cutters and shit on my back of my head. So that was a learning experience. Okay, I need to use some bungee cord to tighten them down. So it's a good test bench for those, and also that how can you perform with your kit. Like tight spaces. You had the problem with the patrol rig in Patria. I had the different type of problem with my preaching kit on my back of my plate carrier, that I need to kind of wiggle through the turret, and that's the learning experience to kind of okay, I have that shit on my back, I need to be conscious about it. And the physical evolutions, like it's totally different to get the 45 minutes to 1 hour rest than to do like 15 minutes something really hard, and then you maybe get the rest, and then you go to shoot the next stage. So it gives you a good benchmark, like how physically capable you are and how much that impacts on the shooting. I started to notice on last stages of the day that I was pretty worn out, and I really need to focus on the fundamentals, and kind of that was a good learning experience, that okay, you need to have a really strong shooting fundamentals to actually hit the targets when you are dead tired.
Yeah, that was I remember one particular thing. We did a very hard breacher thing, and then we went to a stage where we had to remember letters, numbers, and then go apply it out there.
Yeah.
That was definitely mentally messing with the mental processes and stuff, and it was that was a challenging stage. In many respects, some of the most challenging stages of the match, which you wouldn't expect.
And it's crazy. I knew the target packages, like overall, like I didn't know what the card was which, but I had the kind of idea what they are, and still I screwed that up. Like I flipped the target package, shot the spinner, went to the next base, shot the first target perfectly. Then I got a malfunction in my gun because it was all full of sand. Even the Glocks can have malfunctions if you put a lot of sand on them. And I cleared that, and then I was like, God damn it, I'm gonna par out, and I run to the next bay. And during that malfunction clearing and going to the next bay, I forgot those 3 letters, even though I shot the first string perfectly. So it was like a bit of the eye opener that when you're tired, you get the kind of the cognitive overload with the malfunctions. You're tired, you start to fear that okay, I'm gonna par out. You forgot 3 letters, which is like freaking crazy, even though I knew what the scheme of the stage was. So yeah.
And a final question for you. You're in a unique position as being the CEO of Varusteleka. You guys make awesome gear, and if you're not buying Varusteleka gear, why not? How does competition factor in when you guys test gear?
A lot. Because of course we do extensive testing of our gear, but competitions are great in a sense that it puts the gear on a test, like in a dynamic environment. How easy it is used, will it break when somebody is doing something stupid, does it have the some functionalities which hinder with the ergonomics. Of course depends on the gear, but typically if we talk about the pouches, belts, rigs, these type of things, the competitions are really good test bench. one competition isn't enough. You need to have a multiple, and with the different people using the same gear. That way you get the proper feedback. But it's definitely part of our testing protocol to give stuff for either some of our partners or our own staff to, hey, you are going that match, run this and give feedback.
Excellent. So basically, the moral of the story is, people, you buy new gear, you think it's the greatest thing in the world, and it very well may be, but if you don't test it, you will never know.
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate you being on.
Thank you.